Looking for an answer? Why not ask an entire county? Tip today with Seamus Martin on TippFM.
TippFM.
Now I'm joined in the studio by three students from the Presentation Secondary School in Thurles, and they're young social innovators. I'm going to be talking to two of them, Rachel Power and Maeve Curley, and what we're talking about is they're trying to raise awareness about child soldiers, boys soldiers and girls soldiers all across the world. So first of all, if I could talk to Rachel. Good morning, Rachel. How are you?
Good morning, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, so are there many of these young soldiers across the world?
Well, surprisingly there are. There's more than 300,000 child soldiers aging between 10 to 18, which is quite horrific actually when you come to think about it.
Isn't it really, yeah. And what about, I would imagine mostly boys, but are there girl soldiers as well?
There's actually a large amount of girl soldiers, and they're quite young as well, and they're just used for other things that girls would be.
Yeah, I understand. You don't have to draw a picture. I think I know what you're talking about there. But where did you hear about this first, and how did you get interested in it?
Well, it actually just caught my attention on a film, Blood Diamond, that I was watching.
Oh, I remember that film, yeah.
And, well, I didn't think it would be actually as true to the facts as it actually was. And, well, we started investigating it, and we learned some things that it's just horrific what happens to them. And it's terrible.
Okay. Now, Maeve, what countries are they in?
Well, 120 countries worldwide: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Iraq. There's so many of them. They're all over the world, and there's actually been, Rachel had said there 10 to 18, but there's been like records of 7-year-old children being child soldiers.
And you think of 7-year-old children kind of using guns as playthings, but these people these children have real live guns, real live ammunition, and they kill people.
Well, because they're so young, they don't understand death, so they think it's a game. So they're so young, they don't understand the idea of death, so they treat it all as a game, and it's horrific because they actually become mentally ill, and they're like that for life.
And how do they get lured into the process in the beginning?
Well, some of them, it's tradition in some places, recruitment of young soldiers. It's been tradition. Also, they're scared. Family situations aren't great, like, at all. And it's also kind of cool. Child soldiers are seen as an idol. They look up to them, and to have a gun, to be respected, to have power. And they're recruited, also forced into it. That's a huge part of it. A lot of them scared.
And from the point of view of raising awareness, I mean, here we are in Ireland. We don't have any child soldiers in Ireland. We are aware of the rest of the world. But, I mean, what can we do? Is there anything we can do?
Well, there's a Red Hand Day. It's organised by the UN, and it's basically just to enforce the laws to stop people recruiting child soldiers. And, well, the main idea is to just get as many red hands on the 12th of February as possible, just to show that people are aware and they want this to be stopped, that this is a serious issue, and that people recruiting child soldiers should be prosecuted properly, and to help stop it.
It is a depressing topic when you think of it, like people like yourselves in school, I mean, getting training for life and jobs and careers and all that, and other people out there in the killing fields in Africa, Asia, other parts, South America, other parts of the world, that their childhood, they're being robbed of their childhood, and they're being robbed of their teenage years as well. And as you say, they end up, their eventual prognosis isn't good. I mean, they probably won't live to a ripe old age anyway.
No, and I studied re-recruitment of child soldiers, trying to bring them back into society. And it's very, very hard to bring them back into society because their families don't want them back, especially with female child soldiers, because sometimes they're used as sex slaves as well, and they might have children, and the family just don't want them back because they can't marry them off, and fathers won't provide a dowry, and the communities don't want them back. They're afraid of them.
And parts of Central Africa, there where there would have been genocide, they wouldn't have any families.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them would have been recruited into it. I was reading something about it recently, that they were recruited into it because basically all their families had been their adult families had been wiped out, and there was nothing else for them to do. That they were kind of easy pickings for the warlords. Who, of course, there are questions for us as people from the developed West to answer as well. I mean, the people who perpetrate all these things, the guns, they often come from Europe. They often come from America. You know, the bombs, they're made in Belgium, they're made in Italy, they're made in Britain. We have computer systems in this country that are used in missiles. I mean, there are lots of uncomfortable questions for the developed world as well that we should open our minds to.
Yeah, even when you give money to charities, sometimes you don't actually know where that money's going to. Sometimes it can be seized by a corrupt government.
Yeah.
And they're just putting it into arms and weapons.
Yes, and sometimes governments, such as the Irish government, gives aid to corrupt dictatorships and corrupt countries because they say this is the best way of delivering the aid. Now, people in agencies such as Goal and Concern might disagree with that, and they might say, well, the best way is to give it through religious organisations or non-government organisations, that the aid can be channeled better that way. It's very difficult. I mean, Irish people are charitable, and they do give to overseas aid projects, but sometimes you'd be wondering where that overseas aid goes. Anyway, the young social innovators in the Presentation Secondary School in Thurles want to bring this to people's attention. That there are 300,000, is that the word? That's the number?
Yeah.
300,000 child soldiers in this little world of ours. And it's a shame. Thank you both for coming in, and thank the three of you for coming in, actually, Rachel and Maeve. And your name is?
Danielle.
Tanya. Thank you, Danielle.